Night has a way of lowering the volume of the world. If you are listening from a room with a dim lamp, or from a car that has finally come to rest, or from a bed that remembers the shape of your tiredness, let that quiet be enough. Let it be the kind of quiet that does not demand anything from you. Just a gentle space where your thoughts can loosen, like knots that soften when warm water finds them. Imagine for a moment that beneath the ground, beneath streets and roots and foundations, there is a wide, hidden ocean of fresh water. Not salt, not restless, fresh, cool and patient. The ancients of southern Mesopotamia whispered a name for it. Abzu, a deep reservoir under the earth, like a calm breath held by the world itself. In their stories, the wise god Enki dwelled there, in that freshwater depth. And from that depth came a certain kind of knowledge, quiet, nourishing, unhurried. Tonight, we are not here to prove anything, or to win any argument, or to chase a dramatic revelation. Tonight is simpler. We are here to walk slowly through old rooms of thought, rooms made of clay and reed and moonlight, and to let what is gentle remain gentle. So, if it feels right, take a soft breath in and let it out as if you were releasing a small boat onto a still pond. Another breath in and out, and one more, easy and unforced, as if the air is a warm blanket settling over your shoulders. If your jaw is tight, let it soften. If your shoulders are raised, let them fall a little. You do not need to hold the day up anymore. The night can carry it for you, and the night is strong in its quiet way. Now picture yourself standing on a quiet plain at the edge of a marsh. The horizon is low and wide. The sky is a deep velvet scattered with stars that do not hurry. Somewhere nearby, a canal slides along its banks with a sound so subtle it could be mistaken for a memory. The water is not loud, it does not perform, it simply moves. In that gentle darkness, a city begins to appear, not as a skyline, but as a feeling. Eridu. One of the earliest cities resting near the meeting places of river, reed, and human patience. Low temples, mud brick walls that hold the day's heat and slowly release it into the night. A few lamps glow like fireflies caught in clay bowls. The air smells of damp earth and baking bread and the faint sweetness of reeds. And as you stand there, you notice something comforting. The city is not anxious. People are not rushing. Even the dogs seem to understand that this is a night for softness. There is a doorway ahead framed by simple brick. A small curtain moves in a breeze that feels like it has traveled a long distance over water. You step closer, not because you must, but because curiosity can be calm too. Inside is a cool room, lit by a single oil lamp. Its flame is steady like a small heart that knows its job is only to glow. Along one wall are shelves holding clay tablets, flat, earthy rectangles, each one impressed with wedge-shaped marks, cuneiform, the earliest handwriting of a world learning to remember itself. At a low table sits a young scribe, someone who might be a teenager, or perhaps already older, in the way responsibility ages people early. Their hair is tied back, their shoulders are relaxed, not tense. They hold a reed stylus with the care of someone holding a small branch, a tool borrowed from a riverbank. The scribe looks up and smiles as if you have been expected. No grand announcement, no loud greeting, just a quiet invitation in the eyes that says, "There is room here for you." Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here, you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. The young scribe taps the clay lightly as if testing its mood, soft but firm, ready to receive. There is something soothing about that readiness, how the clay does not resist the mark, how it accepts the pressure and keeps it without complaint. Outside, the canal murmurs. Inside, the lamp hums faintly. And in the small pause between those two sounds, you feel the first thread of the story tightening into place, not like a knot, but like a gentle stitch. The scribe begins to write. Each wedge-shaped impression is a tiny footstep, a small triangle pressed into earth, a rhythm. Tap, press, lift. Tap, press, lift. The motion is repetitive in the best way, like waves arriving at the same shore, over and over, never needing applause. If your mind has been busy today, running like a dog that doesn't know where home is, you can let it sit beside this rhythm now. You don't have to solve anything, you don't have to carry any of it. Just watch the marks appear and let the steady repetition do what steady things have always done. Restore order without force. A bowl of water sits near the table. The scribe dips their fingers and smooths a rough edge of clay, then wipes their hands on a cloth. The water darkens the clay for a moment, deepening its color, then slowly disappears into the surface, leaving it calm again. Even the material seems to practice letting go. In the stories of Eridu, the temple was not only a place of prayer, it was a place of learning. A place where water knowledge became canal knowledge, and canal knowledge became harvest knowledge, and harvest knowledge became the kind of calm that comes from knowing there will be bread tomorrow. The priests were scribes, the scribes were engineers, the engineers were, in their own quiet way, caretakers of life. The scribe gestures to a narrow channel cut into the courtyard outside, a simple runnel of water. We learn by watching, the gesture seems to say. We learn by measuring. We learn by recording what the water does when the moon changes, when the wind turns, when the season shifts. And so the night opens a little wider, revealing a thought that feels tender rather than heavy. That knowledge in its earliest form was not a weapon, it was a way to keep people safe, a way to predict, to prepare, to make the world less frightening. If a knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? You can let that question float without answering. Let it drift like a leaf on a slow current. Maybe the water flows through the chest, loosening the tightness there. Maybe it flows down the arms, warming the hands that have held too much. Maybe it settles behind the eyes, rinsing away the day's brightness until darkness becomes kind. The scribe's tablet is filling now, lines of tiny wedges, neat and consistent, and you realize something else. This is not a performance for history. No one here expects applause from the future. They are simply doing what is needed in the quietest way. Somewhere beyond the courtyard, you hear a low splash, a fish turning in the canal perhaps, or a reed shifting its roots. The sound is small, but it carries a message you can feel more than understand. The water is here. It has always been here. You do not need to chase it. In the Abzu, Enki is said to dwell beneath the earth, a keeper of fresh water, and with it, the cool wisdom that makes civilization possible. In later tales, when other powers wished to erase humanity with a flood, he warned a human hero through dreams and coded words, never shouting, always guiding softly, as if the mind could only receive truth when it is treated with care. Dreams and coded words. The detail matters tonight because it suggests a gentler kind of teaching, one that does not slam knowledge into the mind, but lets it arrive the way sleep arrives, gradually, kindly, in layers. The scribe sets the stylus down and looks toward you again. The lamp's light makes a small halo on the clay, and the shadows in the corners feel friendly, like old furniture. On the shelf beside the tablets, there is a rolled bundle of papyrus, out of place in this Sumerian room, as if time has folded like cloth and placed two eras side by side. The scribe does not explain, they simply touch it, as if to say, the river of knowledge flows onward. And in that touch your calm curiosity deepens just a little. Because somewhere beyond the desert and the sea, beyond the long roads and the long centuries, another river waits, the Nile, moving under a moon that measures time like a patient hand. Another scribe waits with another reed pen. Another quiet keeper of order waits, not to judge but to record. In the next room of our journey we will follow the water from the Abzu into a different current and meet the moonlit figure the Egyptians called Thoth, the one who counts the stars, who keeps the calendar steady, who stands beside a scale and writes down what is true without raising his voice. For now, let the lamp grow a little softer in your imagination. Let the canal's sound become more distant. Let the scribe's steady breathing become a rhythm you can borrow. And if you need to, let your eyelids rest as gently as curtains closing. You are safe here. The water is beneath you. The night is wide. The papyrus on the shelf in Eridu does not belong to that room. And yet, under lamplight, it feels natural. The way a seashell can appear far inland and still make sense because water has long hands. The young scribe rolls it gently between their palms as if warming it awake. The fibers whisper, a soft, dry sound like reeds brushing in a night breeze. And while your eyes follow that movement, the air around you begins to shift, not in a startling way, but in the slow, dreamy way a mind changes scenes when it finally trusts sleep. The canal outside becomes broader, the damp earth scent becomes sweeter, greener. The distant hush of marshes widens into the long exhale of a river that has been practicing patience for thousands of years. And when you look up again, you are standing near water that feels different, still gentle, still faithful to its banks but carrying a different kind of light. This is the Nile at night, not a roaring thing, not a frightening thing. A ribbon of dark silk moving steadily through the land, reflecting the moon in a way that makes the sky feel closer. The air is cooler here, and it smells of wet stone, crushed leaves, and a faint, clean note, like linen drying after a careful wash. If you are listening in a busy life, emails, errands, decisions stacked like plates, let the Nile be your reminder that some currents never hurry, and yet they reach the sea all the same. A small boat waits at the river's edge. It is simple and steady, with a low hull and a bundle of reeds tied near the bow. A lantern hangs from a hook, and its flame trembles once, then settles. The light is honey-coloured, soft enough that it doesn't wake the night. On the boat sits another scribe. Older than the one in Eridu, perhaps. Not old with heaviness, but old with calm. The lines on their face look like riverbanks, evidence of time, not damage. Their hands are stained faintly with ink, and beside them is a wooden pallet with two small wells, one dark as midnight, one red as baked clay. They do not speak at first, they only make space for you. The boat's edge creaks as you step in, and the sound is so gentle it feels like permission. The river receives the boat the way a bed receives a tired body, without judgment, without commentary. The lantern's glow touches the scribe's tools, reeds cut into pens, a small knife, a folded cloth, and a roll of papyrus that looks smoother than the one you saw on the shelf in Eridu. Here, papyrus is not an exotic visitor. It is home. The scribe dips their pen into the dark ink and tests it on a scrap of fibre. A thin line appears, quiet, controlled, like a whisper that knows exactly where to go. If your breathing has been shallow today, you can borrow the river's rhythm now. In, as the boat lifts slightly on a small ripple. Out, as it settles again. In, as the lantern's flame leans toward you. Out, as it straightens. The boat glides along the bank. The reeds are tall, and when the breeze moves through them, it makes a sound like pages turning slowly in a library. No one is rushing through. Somewhere far off, a frog calls once, then decides the night is too peaceful for conversation. Ahead, on the shore, a low temple rises from the darkness, not towering, not dramatic, solid and grounded like a quiet thought you can lean on. Its walls are pale in moonlight. A few torches burn near the entrance, but even those flames seem trained to be polite. This is a place where the world is measured softly, where days are counted not to control life, but to understand it, where seasons are recorded so the people can plant without fear, where writing is more than writing, it is a way of keeping the universe tidy. The scribe's gaze follows the temple, and you feel a presence in that gaze, the feeling of a mind that believes order can be kind. In Egypt, the ancients imagined a being who embodied that gentle order. They called him Thoth, sometimes with the head of an ibis, sometimes as a baboon under the moon, always as the keeper of time, the recorder of truth, the quiet witness who does not shout. In a world that can feel loud, Thoth is a comforting idea that someone is watching and that watching itself can be loving. Sometimes he is pictured with the curve of an ibis beak like a crescent moon. It is an image, comforting, the moon's curve, the bird's curve, the same quiet lesson that time can be measured without violence, in smooth arcs, in returning light. The boat slows as it reaches a stone step. The scribe ties the rope with an easy motion, the kind that says they have done this many nights and always returned safely. You step onto the shore, the stone beneath your feet is cool. It holds the day's heat deep inside, but at the surface it feels like relief. The air tastes faintly of river mist. If you listen carefully, you can hear the Nile breathing against the bank. A soft, repetitive lap, like the most patient lullaby. Inside the temple, the corridor is narrow and dim. The walls smell of limestone and smoke and something faintly sweet, resin or oil. Your footsteps sound small, even they are softened by the darkness. A young student passes you carrying a bundle of reeds. Their eyes are calm, their pace is unhurried. They nod once, as if acknowledging that you too have come for quiet learning. The scribe who brought you from the boat leads you to a room lit by a single lamp. In the lamp's glow, papyrus scrolls rest in stacks tied with cord. Wooden tablets sit in neat rows. A few ceramic jars hold pigments like powdered sunsets. This room does not feel like an archive full of pressure. It feels like a pantry, carefully stocked, so the household of the mind will not go hungry. On a low table lies a star chart, not a modern one, not printed or exact in the way we demand today, but hand-drawn, attentive, made by eyes that spent many nights looking up. The marks are small and patient, the lines do not rush. The scribe touches one point on the chart, then another, as if tracing a path. Their fingertip is gentle, like someone smoothing a crease in cloth. Outside, the moon climbs a little higher. Inside, the ink dries, and time begins to feel less like a threat, and more like a river you can float on. There is a phrase some people use, as above, so below. Tonight, you do not need to believe it as doctrine. You can let it be a lullaby instead. If the sky can hold its patterns without strain, perhaps your mind can hold a softer pattern too. If stars can return each season without anxiety, perhaps you can return to rest without guilt. The scribe sits and begins to write. On papyrus, the sound is different than clay. The reed pen glides rather than presses. It makes a faint, silky scratch like a branch drawing a line in sand. The motion is smoother, longer, a kind of flowing that feels closer to water. Line after line appears, and with each one you sense a quiet intention to keep, to remember, to make the invisible visible enough that it no longer scares anyone. A second student enters, carrying a bowl. In it are small stones, smooth river pebbles, each marked with a tiny dot of paint. The student sets the bowl down and steps away without speaking. The pebbles sit there like thoughts that have learned to be still. The scribe picks one up, rolls it between finger and thumb, and sets it beside the star chart. A small gesture, but it suggests a larger practice, counting, tracking, anchoring, not to trap time, to befriend it. In ancient Egypt, the sky mattered not only for wonder, but for survival. A certain bright star rose in a particular way each year, near the time the Nile would begin to swell. That swelling meant life, water spreading into fields, leaving rich soil behind. So watching the heavens became a gentle form of reassurance. The world has a rhythm, the river has a calendar, the future is not entirely unknown. The scribe looks toward the temple doorway as if listening for something beyond sound. Then you hear it too, not a voice, not a shout, but a feeling, like a cool breeze moving through the mind, a quiet presence. Thoth, in this story, does not appear in thunder, he appears in steadiness. In the careful way a number is written, in the way a line is kept straight, in the way a record is made, so the heart can relax. If you have been carrying too many unfinished thoughts, imagine setting them gently into a jar, the way the pigments rest in their containers. You can close the lid, you can return later. Tonight is not for finishing, tonight is for softening. The scribe lifts the star chart and tilts it toward the lamp. The points of ink shine slightly, and for a moment it feels as if the paper is holding a tiny night sky of its own. Their finger stops at one star, bright, important, loved. The room becomes very still, as if everyone is listening. And then, beyond the temple walls, over the reeds and the river, the first hint of that star begins to rise, low on the horizon, steady and sure. In the next part of our gentle journey, we will follow that rising light and learn how a star could become a quiet promise, how watching the heavens helped a busy mind trust the return of seasons, and how the act of writing could feel like placing a soft hand on time itself. The star rises the way a good thought rises, without force. At first, it is only a suggestion, a pale point near the horizon, half hidden by reeds and distance. Then slowly, as if the night itself is making room, it becomes clearer. You can feel the boatman scribe beside you pause his breath, not out of fear, but out of reverence for a pattern that keeps its promise. The Nile does not hurry, the star does not hurry either. And in the unhurried meeting of those two, water below, light above, you sense a kind of safety. Not the loud safety of locked doors and bright alarms, but the deep safety of rhythm. The kind that tells the body quietly, you may rest now. The world is still turning the way it always has. The scribe lifts his reed pen and makes a mark on papyrus. Just one, a small stroke, dark as midnight. It is almost nothing, and yet it holds an entire year inside it. Outside the temple, the river murmurs against its bank. Inside, the lamp glows. The air is cool enough that you can feel it on your skin like a gentle cloth. You might notice how your shoulders drop a little without asking, how your jaw unclenches as if it has finally remembered it was never meant to be armor. The scribe leads you deeper into the building. The corridor turns once, then again. Shadows pool in corners, but they do not feel threatening. They feel like quiet places where the day's noise has gone to sit down. Somewhere, a small bell chimes once. Perhaps a breeze touched it, perhaps a hand did. The sound is round and soft, and it fades quickly, leaving the silence even richer. You enter a room that feels different from the outer chambers, not grander, just more inward. Here, shelves line the walls and bundles of papyrus are stacked like sleeping birds. A few clay seals rest in shallow bowls. A low table holds an open scroll, weighted at the corners with smooth stones, so it won't curl back into itself. The writing is careful and balanced, black ink for the main body, red ink for headings and emphasis, like a calm heartbeat punctuated by gentle reminders. In this place, the world is organized without being squeezed. The scribe touches the red pigment with the tip of his finger, then wipes it clean. He points, softly, to a single symbol that looks like a feather. Ma'at. Not merely a word, but a principle, balance, truth, the steadiness that lets life feel livable. Ma'at is the idea that the cosmos has an order, and that order is not cruel. It is meant to support. It is the straight line the scribe draws so the writing doesn't tilt into chaos. It is the measured pouring of water into a canal so the fields receive what they need, no more, no less. As he points to the feather, you might feel something loosen in your chest. Because in a modern life, the hardest thing is often not doing, it is knowing when to stop doing. Ma'at in this quiet room feels like permission to stop. Somewhere on a painted wall nearby, an ibis is drawn with its long, curved beak. In the lantern's light, the curve resembles a thin moon, quietly teaching the eye how to notice cycles. The scribe traces that curve in the air, then looks up toward the ceiling as if the roof were transparent. You can imagine the moon outside, thinning and growing again, like a slow tide in the sky. Even without speaking, the room seems to say, the night will not stay heavy forever. It changes, returns, and softens, and you can soften with it. One breath, then another, then a final breath that feels like two. If your mind begins to wander, that is fine. Let it wander like a small boat that stays within sight of shore. You can always return to the lantern's glow, to the gentle scratch of the reed pen, to the soft lap of water beyond stone. The scribe sits again and begins to write in a steady rhythm, scratch bars, scratch bars. The sound is so even it becomes a lullaby. He writes about the star you just saw, the one that returns, the bright point that rises close to the time when the river begins to swell. In the old Egyptian calendar, watching for that rising helped people feel the years turning in their bones. It was not only astronomy, it was reassurance. It was a way of saying, the flood will come, the fields will drink, the grain will grow, the bread will return, you will not be abandoned by the season. If you have ever lain awake wondering whether tomorrow will be too much, you understand the comfort of a reliable sign. The scribe does not write that comfort in emotional words. He writes it in measurements, in dates, in lines that keep their place. Yet the comfort is there, like cool water hiding beneath earth. He gestures toward the small stones in the bowl, the ones marked with painted dots. He counts them slowly, moving one from left to right. One, and another, and another. No rush, no pressure. Counting in this room is not about proving intelligence. It is about building calm. It is about giving the mind a simple rail to hold while it walks along the bridge of night. In another corner, a student practices the same motion again and again, dipping the reed, drawing a straight line, lifting. The student's brow is smooth, their breath is slow. The practice feels like meditation disguised as work. You can imagine how generations of scribes learned like this, by repetition, by patience, by letting skill arrive gradually as sleep arrives gradually. In a world where so much is loud, the scribe's art is a quiet rebellion, a refusal to panic, a commitment to steadiness. The lamp flickers once, then steadies again. Outside, the star climbs higher. The river continues its soft conversation with the bank. The scribe opens another scroll. This one is not a chart, it is a story, though even story here has the neatness of record. It speaks of Thoth not as a warrior, not as a king, but as a witness, a keeper of lists, a measurer of days, a mind that does not get swept away. And you begin to see the shape of the journey tonight. In Eridu, we met knowledge as clay, pressed and held. Here, on the Nile, we meet knowledge as papyrus, flowing and recorded. Two materials, two rhythms, one intention, to keep the world from slipping away. The scribe lifts his eyes and meets yours again. In that gaze is an invitation, wordless but clear. Come further. There is a room beyond this one, deeper and quieter, where scrolls are kept not for rulers alone, but for life itself. A place the Egyptians called, in later times, the House of Life. A space where healing, learning and memory shared the same slow breath. And as he stands, you notice something small but important. He does not carry the whole archive with him. He carries only one scroll, one lantern, one reed pen, because the mind too can carry only what it needs tonight. Everything else can rest on the shelf. If knowledge is like water, perhaps its gentlest form is not a flood of facts, but a single cup offered at the right moment. The scribe walks and you follow. The corridor narrows, the air cools further. The scent changes, less smoke now, more papyrus, more dry fiber, more dust that has settled undisturbed for years. It is a clean dust, not a choking one. The dust of things that have been allowed to stay where they are. A door appears, simple and heavy. The scribe sets his hand on it and pauses as if honoring the threshold. Then he opens it with a slow push that makes almost no sound. Inside, the room is dim, vast in its quiet. Shelves rise higher than you expected. Scrolls are stacked with care, tied, labeled, arranged. The floor is swept. The air is still enough that the lantern's flame barely moves. In the far corner, someone is copying a text. So quietly, you hear only the faintest scratch like a moth's wing against paper. You realize this is not only storage, it is sanctuary. A place where the mind can go when the world is too much. A place where time is held gently, not tightly. The scribe lifts the lantern a little, and the light travels across the shelves in a slow wave. It touches cords, tags, edges of papyrus. It makes the room feel alive, like a sleeping animal breathing steadily. He sets the scroll down on a table and unties it with careful fingers. The writing inside is smaller than before, more precise. It looks like the work of someone who understands that even the smallest mark can survive longer than a lifetime. And that realization lands softly in you. Somewhere, long ago, someone sat in this same quiet and copied words by lamplight, not knowing who would read them, not knowing what the world would become, only trusting that keeping knowledge was a form of love. If tonight's story is stirring a memory in you, perhaps of a library, a notebook, a letter, a recipe written in a familiar hand, you can let that memory come. You do not need to chase it. Let it rest beside you like a warm animal, present and calm. The scribe's reed pen begins to move again. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause, and the room, the river, the star, and your own breathing begin to align like four gentle notes in the same lullaby. In the next part of our journey, we will stay in this house of life and discover very softly how writing became a kind of medicine, how order could soothe fear, how lists could comfort grief, and how a scale, a feather, and a quiet recorder named Thoth could teach a tired heart to feel balanced again. The House of Life holds its silence the way a lake holds moonlight, not tightly, not possessively, just enough to keep it from spilling away. You stand among shelves that rise like calm cliffs, layered with bundles of papyrus tied in neat cords. Each bundle seems to sleep, yet the room feels awake in a quiet way, awake with memory, awake with careful hands that once moved here as gently as you are moving now. The scribe sets the lantern on the table. The flame steadies, and its small circle of light becomes a safe island in the dim. Dust motes drift through the glow, slow as snow, slow as thoughts that have finally stopped chasing each other. If you are listening tonight with a busy mind, you can imagine placing that mind on this table too, like a scroll you don't have to open yet. You can let it rest. You can let the shelves hold what you cannot hold right now. Across the room, the distant copyist continues their work. The sound is faint, a soft rasp of reed against papyrus. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause. It is a rhythm that does not demand attention, and yet it gathers it naturally the way a fireplace gathers a room. Near the doorway stands a shallow stone basin filled with clean water. A cloth lies folded beside it. The scribe dips his fingers into the basin, then wipes them slowly, as if washing away the dust of the outer world. He offers the cloth to you with a small tilt of the hand. No insistence, only invitation. You can imagine doing the same, even if only in the mind, a gentle rinsing. Let the day slide off your hands. Let the small frictions of conversation, traffic, screens, expectations, let them dissolve into the basin where they become only water again. The scribe beside you unrolls the scroll he carried in. The papyrus curls and then settles, weighted by smooth stones at each corner. The writing is small, disciplined even. Black ink for the steady body of text, red ink for gentle signposts, like lanterns placed at turns in a corridor. He points to a line, then to a small red heading, then to the neat list beneath it. Not a list of enemies, not a list of victories, a list of herbs, a list of days, a list of measures. In this room, knowledge is not shouted, it is portioned. It is measured the way a healer measures honey into warm water. It is offered in amounts the body can accept. You might be surprised softly by this, that the House of Life was not only a storehouse of stories, but also a place where people sought steadiness for the body and the mind. In later centuries, scribes and healers often worked side by side, copying observations and gentle remedies, soothing oils, calming teas, quiet prayers, ways to ease discomfort and help a restless person return to sleep. The roles were not always separate. Sometimes the same careful hand that wrote a hymn could also record a simple recipe for calm: warm water, honey, a pinch of crushed leaf, and the instruction to sit near an open doorway where night air could cool the skin. No harsh images, only the gentle belief that the body can be coaxed back into ease, one small comfort at a time. On a nearby shelf, small jars wait with cork stoppers, dried petals, seeds, and salts that glitter faintly when the lantern passes. The scribe lifts one jar and lets you smell it, a quiet, earthy sweetness, like a garden after sunset. Then he sets it down again, as if reminding you that healing is often humble and that humility can feel safe. The scribe touches the bowl of pigments and lifts it closer to the lantern. The colors are muted, earthy, ochre like sunlit sand, green like reed shadows, black like river night, red like clay warmed by afternoon. These are not flashy colors, they are the colors of things that last. Beside the pigments lies a narrow strip of blank papyrus. Its surface is pale and faintly textured, like dried reeds woven into quiet. The scribe runs a fingertip along it, and you can almost hear the history of that material. Reeds cut near water, pressed and laid to dry in sun, then carried into rooms like this where the night teaches patience. He dips his reed pen in black ink and writes a single symbol on the blank strip, a small sign that looks like a breath mark. Then he pauses as if letting the ink settle into the fibers the way a calming thought settles into the body. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps it flows to the throat where it loosens unspoken words. Perhaps it flows to the belly where it warms the tight, knotted place that holds worry. Perhaps it flows down the spine like a cool stream, smoothing each small ridge of tension until the whole back feels supported. You do not have to answer. The question can be a soft stone in your pocket, something small you can touch when you need steadiness. The scribe rises and walks with you between the shelves. The lantern's light travels across bundles and tags. Some bundles are thick, some are thin. Some are old enough that their cords look faded, as if time has gently rinsed them. On a few cords, small clay seals hang like quiet moons, impressions pressed by hands that are long gone, still speaking in texture. At intervals, simple labels mark the shelves, not ornate, not dramatic, just enough to tell a tired mind, you are not lost. There is a place for each thing. In one corner, a student sits on a mat with a practice board, drawing straight lines again and again. The lines are not perfect, and no one scolds. The student simply returns to the beginning and tries again with the calm persistence of water shaping stone. Watching them, you might feel something in you relax, the permission to be imperfect and still continue. Above the shelves, a narrow opening near the roof lets in a thread of night. Through it, you glimpse the same steady star climbing higher and a thin slice of moon like a pale feather in the dark. The air that slips through is cool and clean. It touches your face, and you notice how naturally you inhale, then exhale, as if the building itself is teaching your body the simplest lesson: rise, return, and rest again. At the far end of the room, the scribe stops before a painted panel. In the lantern glow, you see the image of a scale. On one side, a heart. On the other, a feather. Light, precise, simple. It is an image many people have heard about. The weighing of the heart. In the Egyptian imagination, the heart carried the weight of a life, its truth, its balance. And beside the scale stands Thoth, quiet and attentive, recording the result. Not scolding, not cheering, just witnessing, writing, keeping the universe orderly enough that it feels fair. The scribe does not describe judgment. He describes balance. He points to the feather and then gently to your own chest, as if reminding you that your heart can learn lightness too, not by forcing it, by letting it release what is unnecessary. In the corner, the copyist pauses to dip their reed again. The room fills with the soft scent of ink, earthy, mineral, faintly sweet. The scent is grounding like rain on dry soil. You notice something else. There is no rush here. No one is counting minutes. The work is slow, and the slowness is not a flaw. It is the point. Outside, the Nile continues its quiet movement. Inside, time feels like a folded cloth, still present, but no longer pulled tight. The scribe returns to the table and opens another scroll, this one written in a hand, slightly different, as if copied by someone else. The red headings are fewer. The text is more flowing. He places it under the lantern, and the ink gleams for a moment. He points to a passage that speaks of breath, not breath as a command, breath as a friend, a steady rhythm that can bring the mind back from the edge of worry. And as you read with your eyes, or simply imagine reading, you feel your own breath respond, becoming slower, deeper, more comfortable, as if your body recognizes the language of calm across centuries. The scribe's gaze meets yours again. In that gaze is a quiet message. Order can be gentle, truth can be soft. Memory can be a lantern, not a spotlight. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Perhaps it is the smell of paper in a library, or the sound of a pen on a page, or the calm of a river you once watched at night. The lantern flame lowers slightly, as if the oil is settling into its own patience. Shadows grow softer at the edges. The reed pen's scratch becomes more distant, almost like wind moving through reeds. And in that deepening quiet, the scribe lifts one last small object from the table, a simple wooden stylus, worn smooth by many hands. He places it in your palm for a moment. It is warm from the room. It is light. You feel in that weightless tool a soft discovery, that writing at its gentlest is not about proving you exist. It is about letting life be held, so you do not have to hold it all alone. In the next part of our journey, we will follow this gentle idea back along the river of time, from papyrus to clay, from temple to school, watching the slow training of scribes and the quiet discipline that gave knowledge its banks, so it could flow without flooding the mind. Night continues to hold the house of life in its calm grip, and yet the world is never fixed in one room for long. It moves the way a river moves, steady, faithful, changing without drama. You can let your forehead smooth itself. The scribe places the smooth wooden stylus back on the table, and the simple gesture feels like setting down a small promise. The lantern's flame breathes once, smaller, then steadier again. Dust drifts in the light as if time itself has learned to float. You and the scribe walk between the shelves one last time. Bundles of papyrus rest in their cords, untroubled by your passing. A copyist keeps writing scratch, pause, scratch, pause, a rhythm that could belong to any century, because patience is older than any empire. At the doorway, the basin of water waits again. The scribe dips his fingers, wipes them, and then does something tender. He touches his fingertips lightly to the rim of the bowl, as if thanking the water for its quiet help. Outside, the night air is cooler. The Nile is still there, still breathing against stone. The returning star sits higher now, and the moon, thin as a feather, hangs like a gentle thought you do not need to finish. The scribe leads you to the riverbank. The boat is waiting, lantern dim, rope slack. You step in and the wood gives a soft sigh, like a bed welcoming weight. The boat drifts away from the temple with almost no effort, as if the river has been practicing this exact movement for you. For a while, neither of you speaks. There is nothing to explain. The night understands itself. The scribe opens his palette and wets the ink, and you notice how careful he is with small amounts, how he never floods the well. He takes only what the reed pen needs. Watching him, you feel a quiet lesson, that even knowledge should be taken in sips, not poured all at once. The boat glides past reeds and sleeping palms. Somewhere, a bird shifts on a branch, then settles again. The city lights are sparse, small fires, soft and low, like kindness that doesn't need to announce itself. Then, without any sharp change, the river becomes narrower. The smell of limestone gives way to damp earth again. Papyrus fibers in your imagination become heavier, thicker, more granular, It is as if the night folds in on itself and you are being carried gently back along the current of time. The lantern remains the same. The water remains the same. Only the material of memory changes like clothing in a dream. When the boat touches shore, you are no longer on stone steps. You are on packed earth beside a canal that runs through a flat, open land. The horizon is low. The sky is still velvet. The air tastes faintly of clay and reeds. In the distance, a low temple sits like a quiet anchor. Eridu has returned, not as a surprise, but as a soft homecoming. The young scribe from before is there, or someone very like them, a student with calm eyes and a reed stylus seated at a low table. An oil lamp glows beside a bowl of water. Clay tablets wait like small, sleeping bricks. If you listen closely, you can hear the same rhythm again. Tap, press, lift, tap, press, lift. The sound of cuneiform being born from pressure and patience. You step into a courtyard where other students sit in a loose circle. They do not chatter loudly. They do not compete. Each one is bent over clay, practicing the same few marks again and again. The practice is repetitive, and that repetition is soothing, like waves meeting shore in the dark. This is a school, but not the kind filled with alarms and rushing. It is a place of quiet hands, a place where knowledge is given banks so it can flow without washing the mind away. The teacher, older, steady, moves among them. Their footsteps are soft on packed earth. They pause behind a student, watch the stylus, and then make a small correction with the gentleness of someone adjusting a candle wick. Not harsh, not humiliating, just a tiny nudge toward steadiness. The teacher's hands are stained with clay. Their nails carry fine dust. There is something comforting in that, proof that learning is a physical thing, not only a mental one. A student lifts a tablet to show their work. The marks are uneven. The teacher nods once, not praising too brightly, not scolding, just acknowledging the effort as real. And you realize this too is healing, because the nervous system loves rhythm, it loves repetition, it loves a task small enough to be completed over and over until the body believes it can finish things again. The teacher sits at the center with a larger tablet and begins to demonstrate. Tap, press, lift. The students follow. The courtyard fills with the quiet percussion of many hands, making order. If your thoughts have been looping tonight, replaying a conversation, revisiting a mistake, you can let them loop alongside this safer rhythm. Let the looping become practice rather than worry. Let it become something that gradually smooths itself. The teacher pauses and gestures toward the canal. Moonlight rests on the water like a pale cloth. The canal's edges are firm, shaped by work and time. Without those edges, the water would spread and disappear into mud. With them, it travels, feeds, returns. The gesture is simple, but the meaning is deep. Knowledge is like water. It needs a channel, a bank, a boundary that is not a prison, but a kindness. Because boundaries are what make a river useful and what make learning gentle. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Maybe tonight it flows through the hands. Maybe it travels down the arms into the fingertips and the fingertips unclench. Maybe it settles in the shoulders and the shoulders drop. Maybe it pools quietly in the belly and the belly stops bracing for impact. One student beside you practices a single sign again and again. The sign is simple, two wedges meeting at an angle. They press too hard. The clay cracks slightly. The student's face tightens for a moment. The way your face tightens when you feel you have failed something small. The teacher approaches, crouches, and places a palm lightly over the student's hand. The teacher does not take control. They only guide the pressure, less force, more steadiness. The student tries again. Tap, press, lift. This time, the clay holds. The student exhales long and slow, as if their body had been waiting all day to let go. You may feel that exhale in your own chest. Learning, you see, is not always about filling the mind. Sometimes it is about softening the body. In a corner of the courtyard, a small stack of tablets waits to be dried. Each one is a modest rectangle, and each one holds a small piece of order. Names, numbers, inventories, observations, simple records that keep a household, a temple, a city from dissolving into confusion. There is a quiet heroism in this work. Not the heroism of battle, the heroism of steadiness. The teacher lifts a tablet and shows a student how to align the lines, how to keep spacing calm, how to leave just enough room for breath between signs. It is in its own way the same lesson you saw in the House of Life, order as compassion. A breeze moves through the courtyard. The oil lamp flickers. The teacher shields it with a hand, then lets the flames settle again. The gesture is so simple, yet it feels like a metaphor. When the world's wind rises, you can shelter your small light. You do not need to brighten the whole night. Only your corner, only your breath, only this moment. The students continue. Tap, press, lift. The sound becomes a blanket. The canal's murmur becomes a second blanket. The sky's stillness becomes a third. Somewhere beyond the courtyard wall, a dog turns in its sleep. A distant voice murmurs and fades. The city rests. The teacher walks to a low shelf and retrieves a tablet older than the others, its surface smoother from handling. They place it before the students like a quiet relic. The marks on it are crisp, confident, the work of a practiced hand. The teacher does not say, "Be like this." They simply let the students look. And looking is enough to inspire without pressure. You notice too that no one here is trying to learn everything in one night. The students learn one sign, then another, one line, then another. They do not dive into the deepest water immediately. They step in slowly, letting the body adjust. That is how a river teaches, that is how sleep teaches. One gentle step, then another, until you are floating without noticing when it happened. The young scribe looks up at you and smiles again, as if you have been part of this circle all along. They hold up their tablet, not to show off, but to share. A few neat marks, evenly spaced, calm and readable. A small success, a small island of order, and you feel quietly that you too are allowed small successes tonight. You are allowed to do less. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to rest. In the next part of our journey, we will follow the banks of this learning farther into a deeper corridor where clay tablets are stored like sleeping stones, and where the idea of Abzu returns again, not as a myth to debate, but as a cool inner place you can visit whenever the mind feels too loud. For now, let the courtyard's rhythm continue. If your eyelids feel heavy, let them be heavy, like shutters closing on a warm house. Nothing is lost. Everything waits quietly, safe for tomorrow again. Tap, press, lift. And with each repetition, let your own thoughts grow softer, like clay under gentle hands. The courtyard of Eridu keeps its gentle rhythm a little longer, as if the night would like you to stay wrapped in it. Tap, press, lift, tap, press, lift. The students' hands move like small tides, and the canal's whisper answers them. And somewhere above, the sky holds its stars without effort. If your body is tired, let it be tired. If your mind is still alert, let it be alert. Both can exist here without conflict. Night does not demand that you perform sleep. It only offers you a direction like a soft path through tall grass. The teacher gathers the practice tablets and stacks them to dry, edge to edge, like bricks that will never become a wall. They are not barriers, they are containers. They hold small pieces of order so the mind does not have to clutch everything at once. The young scribe who smiled at you earlier rises and walks to a low doorway near the temple wall. A curtain of woven reeds hangs there, moving slightly with a breeze. The scribe lifts the curtain and looks back at you with the kind of calm expression that says simply, "If you wish, come, you follow." The doorway leads into a corridor that feels cooler, as if the earth below is breathing up a steady, fresh air. The lamplight behind you becomes softer and more distant. The sounds of the courtyard fade until they are only a memory of rhythm. The corridor is made of mud brick, smooth where many shoulders have brushed against it. Your fingers could trace the wall and feel the faint grain of straw mixed into clay, the way a life is mixed with time. The floor is packed earth, firm and dry. Your steps are quiet, almost swallowed. Ahead, the corridor slopes gently downward. Not like a staircase into darkness, not like a dangerous descent, more like walking down a riverbank to meet the water. The air grows cooler with each step. The scent changes from lamp oil and warm dust to something cleaner, wetter, like stone after rain. The scribe carries a small oil lamp. Its flame is steady, protected by a curved clay shield. In its circle of light, the walls glow the color of honeyed earth. Beyond that circle, darkness waits patiently, not hostile, only unlit. You descend until the corridor opens into a room that is lower and wider. Here, the ceiling is supported by thick beams. The coolness is clear on your skin. It feels like relief, like placing your forehead against a cold window after a long day. This is a storehouse, not of grain, not of weapons, of tablets. Clay tablets stacked in rows, resting on shelves, arranged in piles that look like sleeping stones. Some are small enough to fit in one hand. Some are larger, heavy with their own seriousness. Many are labeled with a simple mark, a sign pressed into wet clay before it dried, so the shelves could be remembered without strain. The scribe lifts the lamp, and the light travels across the tablets like a slow wave. Shadows deepen in the creases of cuneiform marks. The wedges and lines catch the glow, and for a moment the room looks like it is full of tiny riverbeds, each one carved by a stylus, each one carrying meaning the way a channel carries water. You realize something tender. The tablets are not loud. They do not shout their contents. They wait. They endure. They hold their stories quietly until someone is ready to come close. If you have felt overwhelmed by information in your own life, messages, headlines, endless scrolling, this room offers the opposite. Here, knowledge is not a storm. It is stored like cool water in a jar. The scribe kneels beside a shelf and slides out a tablet with both hands, careful and slow. They place it on a low bench. The clay is smooth, cool to the touch. The marks are neat, disciplined. A record of canals, perhaps, or grain, or the names of people who offered jars of oil to the temple. Ordinary things made meaningful by being held. The scribe points to a line of wedges, then to the canal outside in your memory, then to the heart in your chest with a gentle tap of 2 fingers. The gesture is simple, but it says, "This is how the outside world becomes inner calm. By recording, by ordering, by giving the mind a shelf. You breathe in. The air down here tastes faintly of damp earth and dried clay. Not unpleasant, grounding. Your breath comes out slower than it went in, as if the coolness is teaching your lungs to be unhurried. The scribe sets the tablet back and guides you deeper into the room to a narrow opening in the far wall. A thin stream of air comes through, cooler still. You listen, and beneath the quiet, you hear something like water, very distant, very soft, not the canal above, something older, something beneath. Abzu, the ancient idea, returns, not as a claim to argue, but as a feeling, a freshwater depth under the earth, a calm reservoir, a place where the world stores its coolness and its wisdom. The scribe places the lamp on the floor near the opening. The flame flickers once, then steadies, as if it too respects this deeper quiet. The scribe sits cross-legged beside it and gestures for you to sit as well. You settle. The earth beneath you is firm. The cool air touches your cheeks. The distant water sound becomes clearer now, not loud enough to wake you, only loud enough to soothe. It is like a heartbeat heard through a wall, steady and reassuring. Here is a soft discovery. The ancients imagined knowledge as water for a reason. Water enters the land quietly, shaping it over time. It feeds what needs feeding. It runs in channels when guided, and it spreads when uncontained. Water can be gentle, but it also needs banks. Down here, in this cool underroom, you can feel both truths at once. If a knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? And maybe it flows behind the ribs, loosening the tight place that holds worry. Maybe it flows through the jaw, softening the habit of clenching. Maybe it flows behind the eyes, cooling the brightness of the day until the dark feels safe. You do not need to decide. Let the question drift on the sound of distant water. The scribe closes their eyes for a moment. Their breathing slows. You notice how natural it is to follow. In and out. In and out. Your body begins to match the room's temperature, as if becoming part of the earth's calm. In Sumerian stories, Enki is a keeper of this freshwater depth. Not a storm god, not a shouting god, a quiet one, associated with canals, craft, and wise solutions. A god who understands that the best help often arrives softly, like advice offered in a whisper. As you sit near the opening, you imagine a dream. Not a dramatic vision, but a gentle one. A dream where you are walking beside a canal at dawn, and the water is clear, and the reeds are green. Someone stands across the water, not frightening, only calm, and they do not give you a command. They give you a simple image, a small channel guiding water into a field. Then they turn and walk away, trusting you to understand without pressure. That is how quiet wisdom works. It does not seize the mind, it leaves room. The scribe opens their eyes and picks up a small tablet from the floor near the lamp. This one is blank, still slightly damp, as if prepared for practice. The scribe places it in your hands. It's cool. It is heavy in a comforting way, like a warm mug is comforting, except this is cool, like shade. The scribe offers you the reed stylus. You do not have to write, but you can imagine it. The stylus touches the clay. Press, lift, press, lift. Each mark is a small commitment to steadiness, not perfection, steadiness. And with each imagined mark, something in your mind becomes more organized, not more busy, just more settled. The day's noises find shelves. They stop piling in the middle of the room. The scribe takes the tablet back, sets it aside and lifts the lamp again. They stand and guide you toward a final corner where the shelves are older, the tablets darker. Here the clay has aged into a deeper tone, like bread crust. The marks are faintly softened by time, but still readable. The scribe touches one of these tablets with reverence and then, very gently, places it back. The gesture feels like a promise. What matters will remain. You do not have to cling. On a small ledge, a bowl of salt crystals sits beside a smooth pebble, as if someone once wanted to remember that the earth can preserve and the river can polish. The scribe lets the lantern pass over them, and the crystals wink briefly, then return to quiet in their patient way. Above, the courtyard's rhythms continue somewhere, but they feel far away now, muffled. Down here, the only rhythm is breath and water, and the tiny whisper of the lamp. If you are ready, let your eyelids grow heavy. If they are not yet heavy, that is fine too. You can simply rest your attention on the distant water sound and let it be your guide. In the next part of our journey, we will rise again, slowly, following the water upward into open air. And we will let the materials change once more. From clay to papyrus, from storehouse to library, from the quiet underworld of Abzu to a brighter room where scrolls breathe in rows, and where time is kept not to control you, but to comfort you. For now, stay here a moment longer, in the cool beneath, in and out. The world is steady. The water is steady. You are allowed to rest. The cool room beneath Eridu does not ask you to stay awake. It does not ask you to understand every mark or remember every name. It only offers you what the earth has always offered the tired human body: steadiness. For a little longer, you sit beside the narrow opening where distant water can be heard. The sound is soft enough to blend with your breath, in and out, in and out. Each exhale feels as if it carries a small weight away, leaving your ribs lighter. When the scribe finally lifts the lamp, the movement is slow, almost ceremonial. The flame leans, then steadies again. You rise together, and the corridor back up feels less like climbing and more like returning to the surface of a calm pool. The air warms by degrees. The scent of damp stone becomes the scent of clay, then the faint sweetness of reed mats. Above you, the night is still wide, but it has softened at the edges, the way velvet softens where fingers have brushed it. At the doorway of the courtyard, the reed curtain stirs. A thin breeze slips through, and you hear, far off, the canal's quiet voice. The students are gone now, their tablets stacked to dry, their practice left to rest like sleeping birds. Only one lamp remains low and steady, and the teacher has covered it with a clay shade so the light won't flare. Even light here is trained to be gentle. You step into the open air. Stars still hang above the plain, but there is the faintest paling near the horizon, a whisper of morning that has not yet decided to arrive. The air tastes faintly sweet, and your eyelids feel safe to soften again. The scribe gestures toward a narrow path along the canal. You walk beside the water. It moves with the same patient pace you felt all night, as if it has been flowing since before worry was invented. Reeds line the banks, their thin leaves brushing one another with a sound like slow applause that never rises too loud. A few insects skim the surface, leaving tiny rings that widen and disappear. If you are listening from a modern room, perhaps with a phone nearby or a clock that glows, you can let that glow become a distant star. Let it be just another point of light. The canal can hold your attention like a hand holds a cup, steady, careful, without squeezing. The path leads to another building, lower than the temple, quieter than the courtyard. Its doorway is plain. Inside, the air is dry, cool, and still. Shelves line the walls, but these shelves hold more than tablets. They hold reeds bundled for pens. They hold small jars of ink and sealing clay. They hold scraps of wood and cloth, the humble companions of writing. In the center of the room, a table waits with two kinds of surface laid side by side. On the left, clay, smooth and damp, ready for cuneiform. On the right, a pale sheet of papyrus, its fibers faintly visible, like the grain of a well-worn door. This room feels like a bridge. A man sits at the table, older than the students, younger than the teacher. His posture is easy, as if he has long ago made peace with repetition. He wears a simple robe. A small seal hangs from his wrist on a cord, and when he moves, it taps softly against the wood. He looks up at you, and his expression is warm but quiet. He does not greet you with ceremony. He simply slides a tablet toward himself, dips his reed stylus, and begins to copy. Tap, press, lift, tap, press, lift. Then, with the same calm hands, he turns to the papyrus. He dips a different pen and the motion changes. Scratch, glide, pause, scratch, glide, pause. You watch, and something tender becomes clear. The same thought can live in different bodies. Clay can hold it, papyrus can hold it, and what matters is not the material, but the care. This is one of the quiet miracles of the ancient world. Scribes copying, translating, preserving, not as a hobby, not as entertainment, as a way of keeping life steady across seasons and generations. In Mesopotamia, the earliest tablets were practical: grain counts, trade lists, temple offerings. But over time, tablets also carried stories, hymns, laws, and teachings. And when languages shifted, the scribes did not panic. They did what rivers do when they meet new land. They found a channel. They copied old words into newer tongues, keeping the meaning alive even as the sound changed. The man at the table lifts a small tablet with a line at the bottom, written in a slightly different hand. He points to it, as if sharing the secret. It is a tiny note, something like a signature, a record of who copied the tablet, sometimes even who checked it. A quiet honesty. This passed through my hands. I took care. If you have ever written your name on a form or signed a card or sent a message that simply said, "I'm here," you understand the softness of that gesture. A presence recorded. Not loud, just real. The scribe sets the tablet down and places a small pebble on its corner to keep it from shifting. Then he looks at you, and with a gentle tilt of his head, he seems to ask a question that belongs to every age. What do you want to keep? Not what do you want to win? Not what do you want to prove? What do you want to keep? Safe, simple, steady? If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps it flows into the hands, teaching them to release. Perhaps it flows into the chest, teaching it to breathe without bracing. Perhaps it flows into the mind, not to fill it, but to cool it, the way shade cools a stone. The room stays quiet enough for you to feel the answer without words. Outside, the canal continues. Inside, the two surfaces, clay and papyrus, rest side by side like two calm shores. Between them, the scribe moves back and forth, not hurried, not confused. He is simply doing what he was trained to do. Carry a current across a gap. He reaches for a small wooden board with marks carved into it, guidelines for practice perhaps, or a list of signs to copy. He runs his finger along the grooves, then begins again. Tap, press, lift, scratch, glide, pause. Each rhythm is different, but both are steady. And in that steadiness, you feel a gentle reassurance. The world has always needed people who move slowly and carefully, people who keep track so others can sleep. A second figure enters the room, a woman with a basket of rolled fibers. She sets the basket down and unties a bundle. Inside are thin sheets, papyrus perhaps, or something like it, prepared for writing. She does not speak. She only smiles faintly and returns to the doorway, as if her work is to deliver quiet supplies and then disappear into the day. The scribe bows his head in thanks, no big gestures, only the small kindness of acknowledgement. In the corner, a lamp burns. Its flame is low now because morning is coming, and the room does not need bright light. You can feel that transition too, the way the night's deepest cool begins to lift, not abruptly, but like a blanket, slowly loosened. And with that lifting, comes a soft understanding. The point of knowledge is not to keep you awake. The point is to keep you safe enough to rest. The scribe rolls up the papyrus he has written and ties it with cord. He presses a tiny seal into soft clay on the knot, an imprint that says, quietly, "This is held, this is organized, this will not scatter." Then he places it on a shelf beside the tablets, clay beside papyrus, old beside new, not a conflict, a continuity. He turns and gestures toward the doorway again. Outside, the horizon is pale now, and one by one the stars begin to fade, not in sadness, but in completion. They have done their work for the night. You step out into the early air. The canal is still moving. A thin mist hovers above it, and in that mist the world looks soft around the edges, forgiving. The reeds are silvered with dew. Birds begin to stir, but their songs are gentle, as if they, too, have learned to speak quietly near sleeping people. The scribe walks with you to the bank and kneels, dipping his fingers into the canal. He lifts the water and lets it run back through his hands. It glitters briefly, then disappears, a small ritual perhaps, or simply a habit. Either way, it feels like a lesson. Water arrives, does its work, and moves on. He looks at you with calm eyes and offers one more wordless reminder. You do not have to hold everything. You can let it flow. You can let it be kept on shelves, in jars, in records, in the quiet parts of your mind that know how to store what matters and release what doesn't. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's journey has brought you a gentle memory, a library scent, a notebook page, a river you once watched, feel free to share it when you are ready. And if not, that is fine too. Some memories prefer to stay inside like cool water under earth. In the next part of our story, we will follow this current farther, beyond Eridu's canal and Egypt's river, into a larger hall of scrolls where many tongues meet softly, and where the act of reading becomes another kind of breathing. For now, let the mist stay around you. Let the morning arrive slowly. Let your body remain heavy in the kind way. In and out. In and out. The mist above the canal stays a little longer than you expect, as if morning is in no hurry to claim the world. A pale band of light rests on the horizon, not bright, not sharp, just a gentle thinning of the night's velvet. The scribe beside you walks with the calm of someone who has known many dawns and never had to chase them. You follow the canal until the water widens into marsh. Then marsh becomes river. Then river becomes the open meeting of water and sky, where the land begins to loosen its grip. A small harbour waits there, quiet as a breath held in kindness. Boats sit low in the water, their ropes still, their lanterns dim. The scribe steps onto a narrow wooden deck and points to a vessel that looks made for patience. Its hull is dark, its sail folded, its oars resting as if they too are sleeping. There is no bustle, no shouting, only the hush of water against wood, the whisper of wind deciding which direction to lean. You board, and the boat receives you without complaint. The deck is cool beneath your feet. The air tastes faintly of salt now, mixed with the river's sweetness, as if two worlds are learning to share the same mouth. When the sail finally rises, it does not snap. It unfurls like cloth shaken gently before it is folded away. The boat turns and the shoreline drifts back in the same unhurried way your thoughts might drift back from work when you finally lie down. Ahead, the sea opens, wide, dark, steady, holding the moon's reflection in a long silver path. If your mind wants to wander here, let it. Let it wander like a gull gliding without effort. You can always return to the simplest anchors. The sound of water, the soft creak of wood, the steady rise and fall of your own breath. In, as the boat lifts on a gentle swell. Out, as it settles. In, as the lantern on the mast trembles. Out, as it steadies. The sea at night is different from rivers. Rivers carry you between banks like thoughts between sentences. The sea carries you in openness like silence between heartbeats, and in that openness, something inside you may relax, because nothing is asking to be solved. The horizon is smooth, the sky is vast, the stars do their quiet work without demanding your attention. Hours pass in a way that does not feel like time passing. The boat moves and you move with it, and the sound of water becomes a slow hymn. At some point, the scribe wraps a cloak around his shoulders and sits near the bow, watching the moon. He looks as if he trusts the world to keep turning, even when he stops pushing. In the distance, before the sun is fully awake, a new light appears, faint, then clearer. Not a star, not a torch, a steady beam that seems to stand still while everything else drifts. A lighthouse. It rises from the coastline like a calm promise, a tall shape pale against the dim sky, with a lantern at its top that turns slowly as if it is breathing. The light sweeps the sea in a gentle arc, not searching with urgency, only guiding with patience. As you approach, you see a city forming behind it, palm silhouettes, columns that catch the earliest gold, a quiet haze that makes edges soft as if the city is still half in dream. The boat slips into the harbour without drama. Ropes are thrown and caught. Footsteps land on stone. Voices murmur, low and respectful, the way people speak near someone sleeping. The scribe leads you through streets that smell of sea air and warmed stone. Water runs through narrow channels, reminding you of Eridu and the Nile, as if every city, at its best, is built around the kindness of water. Ahead, a complex of buildings rests like a calm thought, a place of learning, of gathering, of keeping. The scribe does not name it loudly, but you feel its presence the way you feel a library before you enter, an almost sacred hush. Inside, courtyards hold shade, trees stand still, stone benches wait. The air is cooler, touched by dampness from hidden basins. You step into a hall where scrolls live in rows. A shallow basin sits near the entrance, filled with water that catches the lamp's glow. A few mint leaves float on the surface, dark and calm. The air carries a soft scent of papyrus and wax, like a book left open in a quiet room. Somewhere, a page is turned, one slow motion, then stillness again. Without realizing it, you lower your breath to match the hall, and the hall receives you gently. Papyrus everywhere, but not chaotic. Bundled, tagged, arranged. Wooden shelves rise with careful spacing. Small labels hang from cords like little leaves, each one telling a tired mind, "This belongs here. You can find it again." Oil lamps burn low along the walls, their flames steady, trained to be gentle. The first thing you notice is not grandeur. It is softness. The way footsteps become quiet on worn stone. The way voices become murmurs without being forced. The way even curiosity feels like a warm blanket, not a sharp edge. A librarian approaches, an older woman with ink-stained fingertips and calm eyes. Her robe is simple. She does not ask who you are, she does not test you. She only nods and gestures for you to follow, as if the building itself has room for anyone who arrives quietly. She leads you past tables where readers sit with scrolls open like long rivers of text. A man traces a line with his finger, as if following a current. A student copies a paragraph, pausing after each sentence, letting it settle. A pair of translators sit together, one speaking softly, the other writing, their exchange slow enough to keep the room calm. Here, languages meet without conflict. The librarian stops before a shelf where scrolls are grouped by subject. not by pride. She lifts one bundle and lays it on a table. The cord is tied neatly. She unties it with careful fingers and unrolls the scroll a few inches, just enough to show that the writing changes midway through. 2 scripts, 2 sounds, 1 meaning. It is not a dramatic revelation, it is a quiet one. That knowledge can travel by changing clothes, that a thought can move from one tongue to another and remain gentle, that the human need for order, for comfort, for rhythm is larger than any single city. The librarian points to the first section, then to the second, then places her hand lightly on her own chest. The gesture feels like an invitation to let your body recognize what your mind already knows. You have carried yourself through many languages of feeling today. Stress has its language, fatigue has its language, loneliness has its language, and rest has its own language too, slow and forgiving. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps it flows into the forehead, smoothing the tight crease between the brows. Perhaps it flows into the throat, loosening the habit of swallowing words. Perhaps it flows into the hands, allowing fingers to unclench as if the scroll's calm is contagious. The librarian begins to show you the way scrolls are kept. She moves as if each bundle is fragile, not because it is weak, but because care is a form of respect. She shows you how cords are tied so they can be opened again without tearing, how tags are hung so they can be read even in low light, how a shelf is arranged so the eye can rest on it without strain. The scribe from Eridu stands quietly beside you, watching with the same reverence you saw in the House of Life. You realize that despite the distance, despite the sea, despite the different stone and different air, the rhythm is the same. Keep what matters, make it findable, offer it in small portions. Let the mind feel safe. The librarian leads you to a window. Beyond it, the city glows in early morning. The lighthouse stands at the harbour's edge, its beam faint now in daylight, but still turning, still faithful to its slow circle. Ships come and go, people move through streets, and yet, in this hall, the world remains quiet, held back by stone and intention. She places a small cup in your hands. It is water, cool and clean. You sip, and the coolness moves through you like a message. You can be carried. You do not have to carry everything. The librarian returns the scroll to its cord and ties it with a neat knot. Then she sets it back on the shelf, and for a moment you feel the deep relief of knowing that something is stored safely. It will not vanish just because you stop thinking about it. Your mind, too, can have shelves. Your worries can be bundles tied for later. Your plans can be tags hung where you can find them again. Tonight, you do not need to open every scroll. Tonight, you are allowed to close what you have been holding. The librarian turns to you once more. She gestures toward a smaller doorway beyond the main hall, a room deeper inside where fewer lamps burn. From within comes a sound even softer than the hall, the faint scratch of a single pen, slow and steady, like one person copying a lullaby. A final invitation, wordless and gentle. Come see how quiet a page can be when it is written only for steadiness. And as you step toward that doorway, the hall behind you becomes a warm hush, and the sea outside becomes a distant breath, and the lighthouse's slow turning becomes in your mind a lantern that will keep circling whether you watch it or not. You are safe to let your eyes grow heavy. You are safe to let the story carry you further in. The smaller doorway opens as if it has been waiting for you. Not with a creak, not with a sudden burst of light, but with a soft yielding, like a curtain giving way to a breeze. You step through, and the main hall of scrolls falls behind you into a deeper hush. The air changes here. It is cooler and it carries the faint smell of papyrus and stone and something like beeswax, warmed by a patient flame. This room is narrower than the hall and lower and somehow more intimate, as if it was built for listening. A single oil lamp burns on a table. Its light does not spill far. It stays close to the surface of wood, close to a sheet of papyrus, close to a calm pair of hands. In the corner, a small window is cut high in the wall. Night blue light rests there, and through it you can see the last few stars fading, unbothered. At the table sits the copyist you heard from the doorway. One person, one pen, one steady rhythm. Their reed moves across the papyrus with a sound like dry grass brushing against itself. Scratch, glide, pause. Scratch, glide, pause. Each pause is long enough for the ink to settle, long enough for the breath to finish its cycle. The copyist's shoulders are loose, their face is neutral, soft, as if this work has become a kind of prayer without words. If you find yourself breathing a little more slowly, that is natural. The room is teaching you. On the table there is a small dish of fine sand, pale as flour. Beside it, a flat tool like a tiny shovel. When the copyist finishes a line, they pinch the sand and let it fall in a thin stream over the wet ink. The grains land quietly, and the ink stops shining. The copyist waits a moment, then tips the papyrus, letting the sand slide into a tray to be used again. A gentle trick, a simple practice, a calm way of preventing smudges. And it feels, in the middle of the night, like a soft metaphor. Even words need time to dry. Even thoughts need a moment to settle before you touch them again. The librarian stands near the doorway, hands folded, as if she understands the sacredness of not interrupting. She watches you with the kind of expression that says, "You don't have to speak here, you can just be." The copyist does not look up, not out of rudeness, out of devotion to steadiness. Their attention is a narrow channel and they keep it clear so the work can flow. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps it flows into the spaces between thoughts, widening them, making room for silence. Perhaps it flows into the chest, cooling the place that tightens when you carry too much. Perhaps it flows into the hands, loosening fingers that have been gripping the day. You can let the question float in the air like the dust motes in the lamplight. Near the lamp, a small cup sits on a coaster of woven reeds. The cup is plain, but someone has taken the trouble to set it there, as if remembering that readers are bodies before they are minds. The librarian pours a little water from a clay pitcher. She does not push the cup toward you, she simply leaves it within reach, and that simple choice feels like respect. Along the wall, a narrow shelf holds wax tablets, dark, smooth, softly reflective. A stylus lies beside them, its tip blunt from gentle use. These are for drafts, for temporary thoughts, for the kind of writing that can be warmed and rewritten without shame. You imagine a student practicing a line, then smoothing it away, then trying again, and the image is soothing, mistakes that do not have to harden. The copyist lifts their wrist and flexes it once, slow and quiet, then returns to the page. Even discipline has softness here, even focus is allowed to breathe. And watching that, you may notice your own hands relaxing, your own fingers uncurling, as if the body recognizes the permission in another body's ease. Here, no one rests alone. Even in silence, there is company, lamps, shelves, hands, water, and the long, patient thread of people who learn to calm themselves by keeping something carefully for you tonight. On a second table, a few scrolls rest rolled and tied, their cords neat. One cord bears a small tag with inked letters, another has a tiny wax seal impressed with a simple mark, no grand emblem, just an identifier. The organization here is not for pride, it is for gentleness, so the mind can find what it needs without panic. The librarian walks to the second table and lifts one scroll with both hands. She sets it down in front of you and unties the cord. The papyrus resists at first, curling back into itself like a shy animal, then slowly relaxes as she unrolls it an inch, then another. The script is careful, the lines are straight. And midway across the first column you notice something quiet and tender, a correction made in a different hand, smaller and lighter. Someone long ago noticed an error and fixed it without drama. No anger, no shame, only the quiet desire to keep the river of meaning clear. The librarian points to the correction, then touches her own throat gently as if to say, "We all stumble on a word sometimes. We can simply adjust and continue." The copyist's read continues. Scratch, glide, pause. Outside the room, somewhere beyond stone walls and courtyards, the sea breathes. You cannot hear waves clearly, but you can feel the sea's presence the way you feel weather before it arrives. It makes the room feel held inside something larger, like a shell held inside a hand. The librarian leans closer to you and whispers, not loud enough to disturb the copyist, only loud enough to place a thought gently into your ear. Not every scroll is meant to be read at once. Her whisper feels like permission. In your own life, there are chapters you don't need to open tonight. There are lists you don't need to finish. There are questions that can remain folded like papyrus tied with cord, waiting on a shelf until the morning is kind enough for them. The librarian moves to a shelf along the wall where fewer scrolls rest. These are not the popular texts that pass through many hands. These are the quieter ones, the ones that people seek when they have a private ache, when they want to understand time without being frightened by it. She selects one and brings it to the lamp. The tag on the cord is faded but still readable. The title is simple, almost domestic, On Measuring the Days. The librarian unties it, and the papyrus unfurls with a slow sigh. The first lines speak of cycles, the return of certain stars, the turning of seasons, the way the moon grows and thins, the way rivers rise and fall. Not as cold data, but as reassurance. A calm reminder that the world's patterns are older than one person's worry. The librarian does not recite the whole scroll. She only points to a single sentence, and then to the lamp's flame, as if to say, even a small light can help you count the dark. The copyist pauses, lifts the sand, lets it fall. The grains whisper as they land. Then the reed begins again. Scratch, glide, pause. You notice how your eyelids want to follow the rhythm, not forced, not commanded, simply invited. The librarian sets the scroll back down and rolls it carefully, as if tucking it into sleep. She ties the cord and returns it to the shelf with a small nod, a gesture of gratitude toward the object itself. Then she leads you to the high window. The sky outside is changing. The deep night is thinning into a pale grey blue. A single star still holds its place, stubborn and calm. For a few breaths you watch it, and the watching feels like a form of rest. As above, the librarian whispers, and does not finish the phrase. You do not need the full saying. You can let it remain unfinished, the way a lullaby can trail off and still do its work. She turns back to the room, and her eyes travel to the copyist's hand. This is how we keep the world from scattering, she says softly. One line, then the next. And in that moment, something inside you feels balanced, not perfectly, not permanently, just enough. Enough to let your shoulders drop another inch, enough to let your breath deepen, enough to let the night carry you. The librarian gestures toward a third table, farther inside, where a small wooden box sits. She opens it, and reveals a thin bundle of pages, lighter than papyrus, smoother as if made for travel. She does not explain the material, she only says very gently, "These are notes made by travelers." Your calm curiosity stirs, soft and safe, because travelers carry stories the way rivers carry silt, quietly, steadily, changing the land over time. The librarian lifts one page and holds it near the lamp. You see a sketch of a canal, then a river, then a sea. A simple drawing, and beside it, a line that feels like a bridge between nights. Follow the water, and you will find the places where people learned to breathe. In the next part of our journey, we will open these travelers' notes and drift along their route, back to river temples and forward to distant libraries, until the idea becomes clear in your bones. Knowledge is not meant to wake you. It is meant to steady you like a hand on the back in the dark. For now, listen to the copyists read. Scratch, glide, pause, and let your own thoughts dry gently, like ink under soft sand. The traveller's pages feel lighter than papyrus, as if they were made to ride in a satchel without weighing a shoulder down. The librarian holds them near the lamp, and the thin sheets drink the light the way dry reeds drink river water, quietly, gratefully, without spilling. On the first page, the sketch is simple: a canal, then a river, then a sea. On the second, a shoreline with a tower drawn in a few confident lines. On the third, a narrow corridor and a room of shelves, little rectangles stacked like sleeping stones. It is not a grand atlas. It is a calm set of notes, enough to help a mind find its way back to steadiness. The librarian lays the pages on the table and weights the corners with smooth pebbles. Then she gestures to you and to the scribe who travelled with you from Eridu, inviting both of you to sit. The copyist in the corner keeps writing, scratch, glide, pause, and the room continues to breathe at the same slow pace. Travellers, the librarian whispers, often write only what they need. Not everything they saw, not every detail, only the parts that help them return. Return. It is a gentle word, it carries no pressure. It suggests that wandering is allowed and that home is still there. The librarian turns the first page towards you. A narrow canal is drawn with two steady lines, and beside it a handful of symbols, marks that look like a language you almost recognize, even if you cannot read it. Her fingertip traces the canal, then lifts and points to your breath. In and out. As if to say the first map is always inside. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps tonight it cools the forehead, easing the heat of overthinking. Perhaps it loosens the chest, untying the band that forms when you carry too much. Perhaps it warms the belly, where worry settles like a stone and becomes softer like a stone left in sun. The librarian does not ask you to answer. She lets the question rest on the table like a pebble you can touch later. Then she lifts the second page and turns it so the lamp's glow falls across the little tower by the shore. The lighthouse. Its lantern is drawn as a small circle, and around that circle the traveller has sketched faint arcs, lines showing the sweep of light across the sea. The arcs are not sharp, they are soft like brush strokes. Her voice lowers even further. When the water is wide, she says, a turning light is a kind of kindness. You imagine the beam travelling across waves, not searching with panic, only offering direction, a slow circle, a steady promise. She places the lighthouse page aside and opens the third page, a room of shelves, and beside it, a narrow column of short lines, little lists. Some travellers, she says, do not only map land and water, they map where knowledge is kept. Her finger taps the column of lists. They write a path through a library, the way a canal is a path through a field. The scribe from Eridu watches with calm attention. You can see in the relaxed set of his shoulders how familiar this idea is to him. Banks for water, shelves for scrolls. A shape that holds what would otherwise scatter. The librarian rises and motions for you to follow. She leads you out of the small room, back through the main hall where lamps burn low and the air smells softly of wax and papyrus. Readers sit in silence, turning pages slowly, as if each movement might disturb a sleeping child. At the far end of the hall is a door you have not noticed yet. The librarian opens it, and you step into a courtyard where a shallow pool reflects the pale sky. The water is still. A few leaves float on the surface like tiny boats. Columns cast long shadows. A breeze moves through a citrus tree, and its scent is clean and faintly sweet. She crosses the courtyard to another doorway and leads you into a room that feels different. Here, shelves are lower and tables are larger. On one wall hangs a wide map, painted, not printed, its edges softened by time. Rivers are drawn as blue-green threads, mountains as small ridges, the sea as a broad, calm field of color. A man sits at a table beneath the map. He is older, with a calm, focused face and hands practiced at sorting rather than show. In front of him are bundles of scrolls and small wooden tags. He lifts a tag, writes a few careful letters, ties it to a cord with a simple knot, and places the scroll into a cubby. Again and again the same quiet motion. Write, tie, place, write, tie, place. He gestures gently toward the table, where a long strip of papyrus lies open. It is covered in neat columns, titles, subjects, short notes, a catalogue, not a showy thing, just a way of keeping a vast sea of texts from becoming a storm. The librarian's eyes soften. When a library grows, she whispers, it needs a shoreline. Shoreline, another water word. The catalogue, she implies, is the shoreline of knowledge. It keeps scrolls from drifting into confusion. It makes it possible for a tired mind to find one gentle text without drowning in the rest. You watch the man's hands. He does not rush. He lays each bundle down as if laying a child into bed. He aligns cords. He straightens tags. He checks one column, then the next, as if confirming a rhythm. And as you watch, something in you begins to organize itself too. Not your entire life. Just one small corner, a list of what can wait until tomorrow. A list of what belongs to today. A list of what is finished even if it was finished imperfectly. If knowledge is like water, perhaps your calm is like a canal. It does not require the whole river. It only requires enough flow, guided gently, to reach the field that needs it. The librarian walks to a shelf and lifts a bundle tied with green cord. She brings it to you and sets it on the table. The tag reads two quiet words: night sky. She unties it and unrolls the scroll a few inches. Inside are simple observations: how the moon changes, how certain stars appear, how seasons return. The writing is not meant to impress, it is meant to reassure. She closes it again and ties it. This one, she says, is for people who feel afraid of not knowing what comes next. She takes another bundle, tied with red cord. The tag reads, waterways. Inside you glimpse diagrams of channels and basins, notes about flow, small drawings of gates. A practical scroll, carrying the same comfort. If water can be guided, perhaps the mind can be guided too. Not everything here is meant for everyone, she whispers, and not everything is meant for tonight. Somewhere beyond the courtyard, you hear the sea again, distant and low. The lighthouse's beam is not visible in daylight, but you imagine it anyway, turning without hurry, working even when no one watches. The librarian turns to you with a soft smile. "Would you like to see the water from above?" she asks, and the question feels like an offer of air. You walk with her toward the harbour. The lighthouse stands pale and calm. Inside, a spiral stair turns upward in steady circles, like a shell. Your steps are slow. The stone under your hand is cool. The air becomes breezier with each turn. At the top, the lantern room is quiet. The great lamp is there, its glass panes clean, its brass warm in the new sun. You rest your hands on the window ledge. Outside, the harbour spreads below like a calm diagram. Water meets stone. Boats rest. The sea stretches beyond, wide and steady, carrying the day the way it carried the night. Farther inland, you can imagine rivers and canals feeding fields, and beneath those fields, the cool idea of Abzu, fresh water waiting, patient and unseen. You breathe in and out. Down on the docks, a few workers move quietly, lifting nets without shouting, letting ropes slide through their hands like soft ribbons. A gull circles once and settles on a post, tucking its head as if it, too, is ready to rest. You notice how the light on the water is never still, yet it never feels frantic. It simply changes shape, again and again, like thoughts turning into dreams. If tonight's story has given you even a small pocket of peace, hold that pocket gently. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. And if a warm memory comes of a river, a notebook, a quiet morning, share it below when you're ready. And let it be yours tonight. And in that breath, you feel a soft discovery. The world's systems, the canal, the calendar, the catalogue, the lighthouse, were not only built for efficiency, they were built for calm. They were ways of telling a fragile human heart, you are not lost. There is a path, there is a light, there is a shelf where what matters can rest. The librarian's voice is barely more than air. When you go back to your own night, she says, build your shelves gently. Then she leaves the sentence open, like a doorway you can step through when you are ready. In the next part of our journey, we will return to the library at evening, when lamps are lit again and the sea grows dark, and we will watch the lighthouse's beam begin its slow circle. And under that turning light, we will let the story gather into a final, soft understanding. Knowledge as water, discipline as banks, and rest as the place where everything can finally settle. The mist of morning has thinned into day, and day, gently, has travelled toward evening without anyone needing to push it along. In the library's courtyard, the shallow pool has warmed under sunlight and cooled again as shadows lengthen. Leaves that floated on its surface earlier now drift in slow circles, like thoughts that have stopped arguing with themselves and learned to turn quietly. Somewhere beyond the stone walls, the sea takes on a darker shade. The harbour's bright clamour never arrives here. It stays outside, kept at a respectful distance by arches and courtyards, and the unspoken rule that learning must be allowed to breathe. The librarian walks beside you with the calm stride of someone who has spent many evenings watching lamps become kinder than the sun. As you pass under a colonnade, a servant is trimming wicks. He does it with 2 fingers and a small blade, careful not to make the flame leap. One by one, oil lamps ignite along the corridor, small, steady stars set into niches. Their light is warm and low, meant for resting eyes. The shadows they cast are soft-edged, as if the building refuses sharpness at night. In the main hall, readers move more slowly now. Scrolls are rolled and tied. Tags are straightened. A few murmured exchanges happen near the entrance, but even voices sound padded, as though everyone senses the evening deserves gentleness. The copyist you saw earlier is still there, now at a different table, still with the same one-pen rhythm. Scratch, glide, pause, scratch, glide, pause. It is the sound of patience turned into a craft. A bowl of sand sits nearby, and every time a line is finished, the grains fall like quiet rain, making ink settle into its place. The librarian leads you toward the map room again, where the cataloguer continues his work. He has moved a stack of bundles from one shelf to another, aligning them as if arranging stones along a riverbank. His tags hang like small leaves. In the lamplight, the map on the wall looks deeper, more oceanic, the painted water darkening as the real sea darkens outside. Night, the librarian whispers, is when the library becomes most itself. You feel what she means. In daylight, a library is a place of seeking. In night, it becomes a place of keeping. The difference is subtle, but the body understands it. Seeking is active, keeping is soothing. A lamp is carried past you, held inside a clay shade. Its flame is barely visible, but its warmth is enough to soften the air around it. You follow that lamp with your eyes, and your eyelids feel heavier, not from boredom, but from safety. When the world behaves predictably, the nervous system releases its guard. The librarian stops before a shelf labeled simply water. The tag is plain, the letters unadorned. Under the label are bundles tied with different cords, each one a small river of thought. She lifts a scroll and sets it on the table. With careful fingers, she unties it and unrolls it just enough to show a diagram. Channels branching, gates opening and closing, basins receiving flow. This, she says, is how people kept fields alive. Then she lifts her hand and lays 2 fingers lightly on the table, near your hand, not touching, only close enough to be felt as presence. And this, she adds, is how you can keep yourself alive too. If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps it flows into the spine, straightening it without stiffness. Perhaps it flows into the heart, cooling the heat of self-judgment. Perhaps it flows into the belly, loosening the old habit of bracing. The librarian rolls the scroll closed again and ties it, as if tucking the diagram into sleep. She returns it to its place. Then she opens her palm toward you, inviting you to notice something simple. The shelf itself. The fact that the scroll can rest without disappearing, the fact that you do not have to hold it once it is stored. She guides you back into the courtyard. Dusk has become velvet. The pool reflects a thin crescent moon, and the first star appears, faint but sure. The citrus tree is a darker silhouette now, and its leaves make a soft brushing sound when the wind moves through them, like pages being turned far away. From the harbour, the lighthouse begins to wake. At first, its lantern is only a pale glow, not yet turning. Then, slowly, as if remembering its duty, the light brightens. It gathers itself, the beam forms, and with a quiet dignity, it starts its circle, one long, patient sweep across the darkening water. The librarian watches the turning beam with a face that holds no urgency. It does not rush, she murmurs. It never has to. You follow the beam as it passes over the sea. For a moment, it lights the surface like a ribbon of silver. Then it moves on, leaving darkness behind, not abandoned, only returned to itself. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. The librarian leads you toward the shoreline path. The harbour stones are cool underfoot. A few boats rock gently. Ropes creak in slow rhythm. The air smells of salt and wet wood and distant smoke, and it feels clean, like a room after the windows have been opened. The beam sweeps again. You notice how it touches things without clinging. It illuminates, then releases, illuminates. And the pattern feels strangely like breath. In, as the light arrives. Out, as it moves on. In, as it returns. Out, as it leaves again. You stand beside the sea, and the sea is wide and calm. It is not silent, but its sound is low, like a big animal sleeping nearby. The waves arrive with soft impacts, small and repeated, never dramatic. A shell shifts in the foam and settles again. The librarian points to the line where water meets sky. When people feel small, she says, they look at that line and remember that being small is not the same as being unsafe. Her words land gently. Many nights, the modern mind mistakes smallness for danger, but the sea, vast and indifferent, does not argue. It simply exists, and in its existence it gives you permission to stop measuring yourself. The beam sweeps again, and for an instant, it catches the face of the scribe from Eridu. He is quiet beside you, looking toward the horizon, his hands relaxed. He has followed this entire journey without needing to speak much, because his work has always been to make space, not noise. He reaches into his robe and draws out a small object, a clay tablet no larger than your palm. It is wrapped in cloth. He unwraps it slowly, and in the moonlight, the clay looks like warm earth. He holds it up to the lighthouse beam as it passes, and for one bright moment, the tablet's cuneiform wedges shine like tiny ripples. He sets it into your hands. The clay is cool. It has weight, but not a burdensome weight, more like a grounding stone in a pocket. On its surface are only a few lines, not dense, not crowded. The marks are simple enough that even without reading, you can feel their intention. To keep, to remember, to steady. The librarian does not ask to see it. She respects the privacy of small artifacts. She only says, softly, "Some things are meant to be held more than read." You close your fingers around the tablet, and your body understands. A small object can be an anchor. A small rhythm can be a path. A small light can be enough. The scribe points toward the library, then toward your chest, then toward the sea. He is drawing a triangle of meaning: shelves, breath, water. The same three you have been following all night. Knowledge as water, discipline as banks, rest as the stillness where everything can settle. The lighthouse beam sweeps again, and this time it feels like a gentle invitation to turn inward. You imagine the Abzu beneath Eridu, cool, hidden, steady. You imagine the Nile under the moon, patient, measured. You imagine the house of life, quiet shelves, ink, drying under sand. You imagine this hall of scrolls, tags like leaves, lamps like stars. And then you imagine your own room, wherever you are listening from tonight, becoming a kind of library too. Not a place of pressure. A place where your worries can be rolled and tied, placed on a shelf, and left for morning. The librarian takes a small lantern from a hook near the path. She lights it from her own lamp and hands it to you. The flame inside is tiny, steady, protected by glass. For the walk back, she says, you hold the lantern and watch the flame. It is a small sun that refuses to shout. Its glow is warm on your fingers, and in that warmth you feel the night's final wave beginning to settle. Back inside the library, the map room awaits. The cataloguer looks up and nods, then returns to his columns. The copyist continues his one-pen rhythm. Lamps burn low. The hall is a sea of quiet. The librarian leads you to a bench near the courtyard pool. The crescent moon is reflected again, thin as a feather. The lantern in your hands flickers once, then steadies. You set it beside you, and its light pools on stone like honey. "Stay as long as you need," the librarian whispers, "but do not feel you must stay awake to honor this place. Your eyelids lower a fraction, the air is cool. The pool's surface is still. Somewhere, a single page turns, and in that deepening calm you sense a final, gentle question approaching. Not one that demands an answer, but one that can carry you into sleep like a slow boat. If you built one small shelf inside yourself tonight, what would you place upon it so you could finally rest? The courtyard pool holds the crescent moon as if it were a thin petal resting on still water. A lamp in the corridor flickers once, then steadies, and your lantern, sitting beside you on the cool stone, glows like a small promise that does not ask you to do anything except breathe. The librarian's footsteps have gone quiet somewhere behind an arch. The copyist's reed has become a distant, gentle scratch. The sea is only a low presence now, like a great animal sleeping beyond the city walls. Even the lighthouse beam feels far away, yet you can still imagine it turning, slow, patient, faithful, sweeping across darkness and releasing it again. You sit on the bench and let your shoulders soften, in and out. If the day left its residue in your body, tight jaw, tense hands, a forehead that learned to crease, this is the moment you can allow that residue to dissolve, not by forcing it, not by wrestling it, only by letting your attention rest on something steady. The pool, the lamp, the breath. The scribe from Eridu stands near you, still holding that calm presence like an old habit. In his hands, the small clay tablet is wrapped again in cloth. He does not push it toward you this time. He only keeps it close, as if demonstrating that some things can be held without being gripped. The librarian returns, quietly, carrying a small bundle tied with plain cord. She sets it on the stone beside the lantern and sits at the far end of the bench, leaving a respectful space between you. Space that feels like kindness. She does not speak at first. She watches the water. Then, with a voice as soft as the lamp's halo, she says, "Every place we visited tonight had a way of keeping calm." Eridu kept calm with clay, with the slow press of a reed stylus, with shelves that gave thought a home. Egypt kept calm with papyrus, with the measured counting of days and stars, with Ma'at, the feather-light idea of balance. This city keeps calm with lists and tags, with catalogues that act like shorelines, with the lighthouse turning its beam in a steady circle, reminding ships that direction can be gentle. And now, the librarian says without saying it directly, it is your turn to keep calm too, not by building temples or libraries, not by memorizing names or dates, only by making one small inner shelf. She opens the bundle she brought. Inside are 3 objects, simple and unadorned. A small, smooth stone, pale and cool. A thin strip of blank fiber like a tiny page. And a short length of cord. She places the stone in your palm first. It is cool at the center, warmed slightly by the air. Its weight is just enough to remind your hand what grounded feels like. "This," she whispers, "is for the moments when your mind runs ahead of you." Then she places the strip of blank fiber on your other palm. The texture is soft, faintly rough, like a leaf that has been pressed flat. "This," she says, "is for the moments when you need to set something down without solving it." And finally, she lays the cord across the 2 objects, a thin line connecting them. "This," she adds, "is for the moments when you want to remember that everything can be tied, stored, and found again. No magic, no drama, only gentle tools for a gentle brain." If knowledge is like water, where does that water flow within the listener's body so that they feel light? Perhaps tonight it flows into your hands, teaching them the simplest skill, releasing. Perhaps it flows into your lungs, reminding them that a full exhale is safe. Perhaps it flows into the place behind your ribs, cooling that old tightness until the heart feels less guarded. The librarian does not ask you to decide. She lets the question sit beside the stone like a companion that won't interrupt. The scribe from Eridu leans forward and with a small smile traces an invisible line in the air, down, then forward, then down again, like the shape of a canal. He is showing you quietly that a path can be simple. You can imagine your day as water too. It arrives from somewhere, it moves through tasks and voices and screens, and it wants to go somewhere else. If you give it a channel, it stops flooding. If you give it banks, it becomes useful. If you give it an outlet, it returns to stillness. Tonight, the outlet is sleep. The librarian points to the lantern. The flame is steady, low, almost shy. A small light, she says, is not meant to defeat the dark. It is meant to help you be kind to yourself while the dark does what it does. The scribe nods. His eyes are calm. In that calm, you feel a quiet certainty. You do not have to carry the whole world to prove you are worthy of rest. The courtyard remains quiet. Somewhere in the hall, a scroll is rolled and tied, cord drawn through fingers. The sound is soft and final, like a door closed gently, so a child can sleep. The librarian invites you to stand and walk once more, slowly, around the pool. Your footsteps are small on stone. The water reflects the lantern's glow in a trembling line that settles again when you pause. In the reflection, you see the crescent moon, the lantern, and a hint of your own face, softened by dim light, softened by quiet. The librarian leads you under an arch to the edge of the complex, where a small gate opens onto a path that faces the sea. The harbour is darker now. The lighthouse beam is clear again, sweeping in a slow arc, touching the water like a hand that strokes and then releases. You watch one full sweep. It arrives, it lingers, it passes on, in and out. The sea receives the light and then returns to darkness unchanged, unhurt. The darkness is not a failure, it is simply night being night. The librarian speaks again, barely above the wind. The past, she says, is not here to demand your attention. It is here to offer you company. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. The scribe from Eridu places his hand over his chest for a moment and bows his head, a gesture that feels like gratitude. He has spent his life keeping order in small marks. Tonight, he has also kept order in your breathing. The librarian turns you back toward the courtyard, and as you walk, you notice how the building itself seems to dim its presence, as if it understands you are ready to drift. Lamps burn lower, shadows thicken at the edges, becoming softer, more forgiving. Back at the bench, the librarian helps you arrange the three objects, stone, blank strip, cord, into a small bundle. She ties the cord once, not tight, just secure. Then she places the bundle into your hands like a pocket-sized calm. You do not need to keep it forever, she says, only long enough to remember you can. You sit again. The lantern glows beside you. The pool reflects the moon. Your breath slows. If a memory rises of a quiet library, of paper under your fingers, of a river you once watched, let it rise gently. You do not have to follow it. You can simply let it float like a leaf on still water. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. And if you do not feel like sharing, that is fine too. Some memories are private lanterns. They shine best inside. The librarian's voice becomes softer, more rhythmic, as if she is speaking directly to your nervous system rather than your mind. Let the day be a scroll, she says, rolled and tied. Let the unfinished things be tags you can read tomorrow. Let the worries be bundles on a shelf. Let the questions be jars with lids. Let the heart be a feather, light enough to rest. And then, quietly, she stopped speaking. Because the last part of this journey is not words. It is the body remembering how to sink into safety. So if it feels right, take a slow breath in. Hold it gently as if cradling warm tea in your hands. And let it out, long and easy. Again, in and out. And one more time. In and out. Now imagine the muscles around your eyes smoothing, the forehead widening. Imagine the tongue resting behind the teeth, the throat open like a quiet hallway. Feel the chest rise and fall without effort, and the belly softening like clay under warm hands. Let the legs become heavy, the feet warm, the whole body sinking into its own weight, until the smallest worry forgets its name. Somewhere, far beneath any city you can name, you can imagine Abzu, the cool, freshwater depth under the earth, waiting like a calm reservoir. It does not chase you, it does not demand you believe, it simply remains, steady and unseen, a reminder that calm can exist below noise. Somewhere, on the Nile, a moon still measures water in silver. Somewhere, in a house of life, ink dries under soft sand. Somewhere, in this harbour, a lighthouse continues to turn, and here, wherever you are listening, your own small lantern can turn inward too. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys. Before you fully drift, remember, you did enough today. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to be held by the dark, the way the sea is held by the night. Let your eyes close if they wish. Let your breath keep its slow rhythm. Let your thoughts loosen like knots in warm water. And when sleep comes, quietly, kindly, let it come the way a lighthouse beam comes, arriving, touching, and then letting you go.
Our story pauses here. Every visual and word you've experienced was assisted by AI, yet guided and perfected by sincere human emotion. We hope this harmony of history and technology has crafted a beautiful dream for you tonight. Let go and drift deep into sleep. Good night.